further insight on the situation. Chen Herzog of BDO joins us here on set. Thank you very much for being with us.
Hello.
Well, look, how have the Chinese markets influenced Israeli markets?
Well, you know, for a long time we've been warned that the Chinese slowdown may be a threat to the global economy. And some of those experts that now warn that it's a threat just a few years ago warned us the Chinese economy is growing too fast and it's a threat to the global economy because they will take out over the world. So I say, let's calm down and put things into perspective. In terms of the Israeli economy, Chinese export to China is only 5% of the total export. So there is no major concern. I would be more concerned about European slowdown than Chinese slowdown because that's our major export market.
Interesting. Well, wouldn't Israel benefit from cheaper imports from China?
Well, yes. Part of the situation is that as the Chinese economy cools down, demand goes down. We see commodity prices go down, energy prices go down, grain prices go down.
Isn't that good for us?
Yes, it is. Israel is an importer of those commodities. So if coal prices go down, oil prices go down, grain prices go down, we'll see cheaper food, cheaper energy. So yes, it's definitely a benefit to the Israeli consumer.
It's almost like the rich guy on the block who no longer can afford to pay a ridiculous sum for his house, and so that brings the property prices down and helps everyone else who lives on that block.
Yes, and part of the increase in the commodity prices was because of the increased demand from China. So basically, we're going back to rational prices globally.
All right. Well, what about the Chinese investment in the high-tech sector in Israel? Because that is a huge source of financial capital for Israelis here in the corporate world. Is this slowdown in China going to impair that or limit it?
Yes. In recent years, we've seen a lot of Chinese companies come and invest in Israel, not only in the high-tech sector. We've seen Chinese coming to the food industries, to Tnuva, to the financial sector, to the energy sector. And I think the investment of Chinese companies in Israel were part of their preparation for an era of local slowdown because they wanted to diversify, they wanted to have other sources of growth rather than the local demand and supply. So in a sense, I think that it doesn't contradict and even supplements because now Chinese are even more looking for markets out elsewhere, and Israel is foreseen as a bridge to Europe and to the US.
Interesting. And also they are looking to advance past their manufacturing base. Some guests we've had here before mentioned that they're looking to turn more toward innovation, an innovation-based economy rather than manufacturing economy. And we have seen some of their data come in negative here, which is also stimulating this free fall in the markets. But perhaps if they move in that direction, could they really be the big economic innovator out there?
Well, they are. China, traditionally, Chinese force wasn't in innovation. There was in their industrial power, in their efficiency. And yes, they are coming to Israel partially to benefit from our innovation proficiency, to acquire know-how, and to improve their production facilities both locally and elsewhere.
Right, and they are looking to expand their innovation economy, especially when it comes to aging. That is something that we've spoken here as well. That's certainly a sector that's important to them with their aging population, and they have so many people there.
Yes, they are looking, and Israel does provide many benefits in terms of our food industry, in terms of our medical industry, in terms of our high-tech industry. Exactly.
All right. Well, the Israeli Stock Exchange still has taken a series of hits by this poor data coming out of China. How do you explain that?
Well, you know, in the short term, Israeli stock exchange and any stock exchange doesn't like uncertainty, it doesn't like volatility. So when you see shocks globally, it will affect the local market. But if you look from an economic point of view, I don't think there should be any major influence of the Chinese slowdown or even a crisis on the local market. We do have our own problems in the Israeli economy, and they may be reflected in the stock market. We have our own slowdown in the economy. We have a reduction of investment, but we can't blame the Chinese for that trouble. That's our own.
Interesting. Well, also something that is interesting as well is a lot of analysts have pointed to the fact that we can't trust the numbers coming out of China, that in fact it's much worse than they're letting on.
Well, yes, that's part of the problem. If you look at the Chinese economy, it's not a free market economy. If you look at the Chinese stock exchange, it's not a free stock exchange. There are restrictions on the flow of equity in that market. And yes, we could never really trust the numbers, but I don't think the numbers is what counts here. There is no doubt the Chinese economy was growing very fast, and there is no doubt that it's slowing down now. So the number is not the issue, it's the trend. And I think the trend is undisputable.
All right, well, thank you very much, Chen Herzog of BDO, for joining us in studio.
Thank you.
Well, that concludes our show today. Do stay tuned here every day for all your global economic coverage here from the Jaffa Port in Tel Aviv. I'm Natalie Ehrlich. Thank you very much for watching.